And welcome to Catholics Coast to Coast. Hope your summer's going well. I'm Ace McKay. Always glad when we can catch up on our podcast conversations, because when you're traveling for the summer months or you're looking for something to deepen your walk with God, talking and hearing from others in the midst of their own adventures this summer is a chance for us to do just that. So before we dive into this week's conversations, let's get a look at the readings from this weekend's Mass as we check in with your word on the Word.
Do you have hope?
Hope in what? That the Braves will make it to the playoffs? This will be the best summer ever?
Hope in what's to come when we die.
Oh, I need to think bigger. This weekend, we enter back in ordinary time and are taking a look at the second reading from the second letter to the Corinthians.
Paul talks about the ministry and how they face difficulties, but do not give up because they have hope in Christ, and that hope requires faith.
It says that our earthly afflictions prepare us for heaven's incomparable glory.
And we can have hope in eternal life with God. But that can be hard to do if you're spiritually struggling.
So, this week, we challenge you to be hopeful in the midst of whatever trials you are going through.
And here's a little acronym from my good friend John at Williams that may help. H, hold on to the truths of the faith. O, own the challenge. P, persevere in prayer and patience. E, expect God to intervene.
In whatever challenges you may face this week, know that we are praying for you.
And we'll see you next time right here on The Word on the Word.
Bye.
Hopefully that gives you a little deeper understanding from the Mass readings from this weekend. So as you continue to dive deeper into God's Word, we got great conversations happening at Podcast Central. You can always catch up with Word on the Word at our website. Go to EWTN.com/podcast or find us as you subscribe wherever you like to stream your podcast, and then subscribe for future episodes. As we head into this week's Catholics Coast to Coast, our friends at Honest to God are helping those in the dating scene. There's such a different landscape as each year seems to produce new apps, new opportunities, and even lingo. We want to be on the latest of that and how to process that through our Catholic faith. Let's jump into our panelist discussion on Honest to God with this week's Catholics Coast to Coast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, super pumped to be here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic radio. So I was confused because when I saw the notes for the show today, it says Dating 101 in 2024. Hear how an engaged couple met on a dating app, and hear others explore dating adventures in 2024. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say you are not an engaged couple.
There's no one here next to me, unfortunately. Not yet.
Did your engagement break off immediately before the air and he drove off?
Yeah, we broke off the engagement and he just ran away in my Tesla.
You just totally went with that. That's not true. That's not what happened.
True at all.
If you're watching or listening, do you mind leading us in prayer?
Yeah.
Kick us off. All right. Ready when you are.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Jesus, thank you for this moment. Thank you for allowing all of us to be here. And Mama Mary, I just pray to you because you are the greatest mother of all. And I pray that you're just here while we talk about dating and all of the pursuits, as well with St. Joseph being here as well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And we're going to talk about dating today, but you have a fun fact first. So give us one fun fact.
I got bangs.
Hey.
I just got them last week. There was like a very impulse decision. I was at work and I'm like, I need a change in my hair. And she was like, is it time for bangs? I said, it's time. So I sat in the chair at work and she's like, are you ready? I'm like, nope, let's do it. And the moment she cut my bangs.
Wait, where do you work?
I work at a hair salon.
Oh, that makes way more sense in context.
There you go. So I'm a full-time manager for a hair salon and I also do recruiting for the salon as well. And so I was closing that day and she's like, are you ready? I'm like, nope, not ready. And she did it. And then I straight up gasped when she cut my hair.
I had bangs at one point.
I can see it.
It's been a while.
Rocking it.
I'm thinking about now doing just bangs, like leave the rest of it like this, but then just have like a strip right here. Do you think
grow your beard out too?
Could I work that?
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, and to all of our viewers, we've done a number of episodes on dating in some regard, right? We did a dating apps episode, got a lot of hate on that one actually.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think just maybe a standard amount, but it was good. I like it. You need a little bit. If everybody's happy, what have you been doing? And then I think you were on what is now our second or third most popular ever. I think our most popular full video, which is the Finding Mr. Right episode.
Love that episode.
And you said when we were talking on the 100th episode thing, not too long ago, you said that every time some guy asked for your number, you sent him that that YouTube video?
So every single time a guy will ask me, like, I've been doing like the hard discussions lately, you know, sex, religion, politics, all the hard discussions that I just want to get out
You
of the
have
way.
been doing that. Oh, good.
I have been
Okay,
doing
yes.
it. I haven't before in the past, but lately I've just been doing it because I'm older, you know, I'm not playing around anymore. I want to date for a marriage and everything. I'm trying to find my husband. And so instead of just dilly-dally, la-di-da, just getting straight to the point, I have been sending, like, you know, having those conversations. And when the guy, like, you know, asks me those hard questions, I go ahead and send that video. And it's just like, I've sent it twice probably. And the only time I've had one like positive outcome by sending it is the guy I'm talking to now, actually. And he was like, I love this video. I'm glad you sent it. I'm like, wow, that's the first time someone said thank you for sending that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been working pretty well. It's been going through all the weeds and everything.
Yeah, so if you want to be on Honest to God and just make your own one of these back and forths where we ask all the awkward questions here and then you can just send it, be sure to drop us an email or something. Yeah. That's really cool. So what is it in particular? Because it's been, I mean, that episode was done well over a year ago.
It was so long ago. I think it was like, I think qualities that I found in a guy was really going to be like, it used to be Catholic or it used to be like Christian, but for me now it really is more of like, you have to be Catholic if we're going to be pursuing each other. And if you're not Catholic, then you have to be either open to conversion or you have to be open to raising our kids Catholic. And that's just like my biggest deal breaker now, because my last relationship, he was not Catholic. And we had that hard discussion, and I took him to mass with me for Christmas, and that was kind of like that teeter moment to where we ended up breaking up like a few weeks later.
So there's no way we're not about to dig into that, but I want to take 1 second. Can we do that? Are you comfortable digging into that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But first I want to talk about what you sort of opened with, because I think it's super, like that has come up so many times on this show, right? Dating has a purpose. Every time you date somebody, there are two options, right? You break up or you get married. Those are the only two options, right? And I have heard so many people who will talk about how uncomfortable it is to talk about the things that actually matter. I'm an advocate of, and I always like to tell people I'm not super qualified. The last time I had a new girlfriend, I was 19. She gave birth to my fifth child a couple months ago. So I've not been in the dating game recently, but I'm a huge advocate of, that's first date discussions. Don't waste my time. I don't want to waste your time, right? So let's talk about the big things, and that's morality. That's, everything from sex stuff to kid stuff to religion, politics. Are we going to be compatible? Because if not, from a girl's perspective, thanks for the dinner. I'll see you later. All the best. I literally went on a date with a guy and we had that conversation at the dinner table. I was like, this is where I stand on, for example, like physicality. Like I don't like it before a relationship. I want to save it. I want to get to know you on like an emotional level before like we even discuss more of physicality stuff. And he was like, physical stuff is such a deal breaker for me before a relationship. That's where he stood with it. We weren't getting anywhere. Dinner ended really early. And he was like, oh, 1 check. I said, no, 2. Like, I'll do 2 checks. Thank you. Like, you do not have to pay for my dinner. Oh, because you're like, this is such a deal breaker that there's no sense in even. But
he was also like really obnoxious about it too. There's like difference between like being very civil about it and being a gentleman about your deal breakers and me being cordial with my deal breakers. But he was just obnoxious.
Wait, okay, let's back that up a little bit, because like you said, I agree. Deal breakers, let's get those out of the way right now. I really like that. I don't know how I would feel on the other side of that conversation if you said no to. That's intense. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying I think it's super interesting. But how do you even bring that up? Do you sit down with a guy and say, okay, my name is Nini. I want to talk about how I'm not going to have sex with you unless we get married. And I want to talk, like, how does all that stuff?
It really was because, so I met him on Hinge, and I did it to where I narrowed down like my deal breakers. So I did it to where
Hinge, because I definitely know what that is, because I'm hip and cool and I'm definitely aware. That is a dating app. Yep, that's what that is for sure, which I knew already. I'm glad you said that. It's a dating app that's meant to be deleted, or as I say, re-downloaded when you are single. Okay, so you met him on a dating app. Yeah. And then you were compatible. And how did you decide to go on a date?
Apparently, Hinge said we were most compatible, which was great because we had a great conversation going. And then we ended up going to dinner together. And it was more of like, because when I narrowed down my deal breakers, it was religion and I put Catholic. That was a deal breaker. Right. So when they made their profile, if they put they were Catholic, it kind of showed me all the profiles who were Catholic men, which was great. Yeah. Until they weren't really Catholic as they said they were. For example, because he said he was Catholic.
So wait, how did you find that out? So once again, we just sat down, we're having dinner together. How do you broach the topic? How do you broach the topic of?
He actually brought up the topic of, okay, it's like, not the norm, but let's go ahead and talk about the not norm conversations. I said, okay, I like this. This is bold. Yeah. And then we were on same alignment for religion, politics, but then it went array when it was the sex talk.
Okay, cool.
Because he was like,
I do mean cool. Like, that's good that you got that out of the way. Yeah.
It was great. And he was like, I believe in having sex before marriage. I said, okay. I'm like, but how far in? Like, that's cool. No judgment. But how far into
I have a lot of judgment for the record, but okay, finish. Yeah.
No judgment with that. Like, I have no room to judge him at all because I don't want him to judge me for what I believe. And he said, like, before I even call you my girlfriend, I said timeouts.
Right.
I'm like, why? He said physical intimacy is really important to me. And he said, I have to, as word for word, I have to test drive you before I get serious. I said, ew. I'm like, that's icky. Okay. That's icky.
Yeah, that's super icky.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not just like, I have feelings, I have my beliefs, and he wasn't just respectful. I'm like, that's not what I believe in. Like, I believe in getting to know you on an emotional level first, because, we're dating for a marriage. And he was like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, so why is that such a deal breaker? He said, if I'm going to marry you and be with you the rest of my life, I have to be able to no, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm like, ew.
Yeah,
ew.
super gross. That's super gross.
Yeah.
So was that the first 10 minutes of sitting down?
That was the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
And it was awkward because I was really hungry. Mm-hmm. And I love food.
Right.
And so the first 10 minutes was how was your day? My day was great. What are your hobbies? How's your family doing? Because we were talking for, I think, about 2 weeks before we went on our first date. Because I was super busy with work. He was busy with work. So our schedules allowed us to go on a dinner date 2 weeks later, which was fine because we were still texting. We were FaceTiming in between. And so 30 minutes into dinner, I was like, I want to go home. But I was like,
I want to eat.
I really want to eat.
Right.
So I kind of just went along with it. And then at the end of the day, it was the check was I need 2 checks.
Yeah.
So
have you been tell me about the success with or lack of success with the dating app stuff?
It's been a little, I've been on probably I went on a date with that one guy that didn't work out with the 2 checks. I actually went on another date with a guy and he was super sweet. We're actually really good friends after. Things didn't work out, not because of our beliefs didn't line up. He just had a lot going on personally and he wasn't anywhere ready to be in a relationship. So we had the conversation to where he's where are you at? Where am I at when it comes to dating? And he was just not there, which is fine. So now we're good friends. And I'm actually talking to another guy. Right. Which has been really successful lately.
All right. And I don't want this to come across as negative at all. I'm genuinely curious about this. It seems like you keep having these sort of things that come and fall apart, right? What is the plan? Do you have a plan? Are you changing your game plan? What does that look like?
The game plan is still going to have those hard conversations with the guy I'm talking to. And it's going to be, I am dating for a marriage. These are what I believe in. Do we align in this together? And if we do, we'll continue going on dates, kind of just feeling it out and seeing what happens.
Sure.
I think my game plan before was going on dates and kind of hoping that things would change if we don't align. And now it's just more of I stand by what I believe in, and it's either we can get on board with the same thing, or we can go ahead and go separate ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've brought this up before, but just to share my opinion on the whole dating thing and all of that, to mansplain to all the ladies out there. This is my hot take on guys in general. Ladies, don't date a guy who is just willing to sort of humor you in regards to morality, right? Who's saying, no, I understand that's where you stand, right? I'm willing to respect that, right? Because if you have a guy who says, no, that's great, you want to wait until we're married to have sex, I respect that and I respect your decision. No, that's actually the wrong answer. That sounds like the right answer. Sounds like that guy's being polite. He's not. Here's what he's actually saying. What he's actually saying is, I don't actually have that conviction. I don't agree with your morality on that. I am just going to hang out and wait in the wings until you have a moment of weakness. And then I'm going to go ahead and move in. And then we're going to fall down that road. Right. The right answer is yes. Actually, I totally agree. We are going to wait because sometimes, right? I know that the stereotype is the guys are the only ones who have any sort of like sexual inclinations or anything. That's obviously wrong, right? There's going to be, you need both couples on the same page, or else that girl or that guy, whoever's, the one who's really adamant from a moral standpoint, they're gonna have a moment of weakness. And that's when you need the other one to actually come in and have the backbone and say, no, we're gonna hold the line in regards to morality or sexuality or whatever it is. That's super interesting to me. I wanna dive in to sort of once we get our AV issues solved, I want to dive in a little bit from a standpoint of, once again, I am totally ignorant. I'm not feigning ignorance for the radio. What does the dating landscape look like right now? Like, what are you hearing? Not just you personally, but with friends and stuff like that. My 13th anniversary is coming up in about 3 weeks, right? And so I've been removed, and it does seem like everything has changed radically since then. This was like iPhone one time. There was, obviously the internet existed, but it wasn't a thing. And it seems like the landscape is so radically different. What's it look like right now?
Honestly, I was talking to our old producer, Ben, about this before we aired and everything. And we both agree, like, dating now is just so much harder than it was before. Like, I think because I am older, like I am dating for a marriage. I think when I was younger, I was dating just to date. And so, like, back then I was like, I don't really care. Like, I'm kind of here for the attention. I'm here to like fill that void with something that like I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, we want attention. We want affection.
Yeah, I want that attention. I want to be loved, and I just want someone to like care for me, and that's what I wanted when I was younger. But I think now that I am older, it's just so much harder because you don't know if the people that we are trying to pursue are equally pursuing us back, or just even like being genuine with their intentions when it comes to dating us. Like, I'm very open about what I want, and sometimes I feel like guys are very like, oh, I'm going to be open to like, to let you hear what you want to hear. But I really don't mean what I say in the back end.
Yeah. Do you, overall, the whole dating app has been overall positive or negative? I will air my very obvious bias as the old fogey, right? It just seems super weird to me. That being said, I've never experienced it. So
honestly, my parents are the same way. Like this is so bad to say. Sorry, mom and dad. Every single time I do go on a date, I don't tell them where I met. Like if I go on a date with someone I met on the dating app, like on Hinge, I don't tell them that I met them on a dating app because for them it's weird. Like they're old school. They meet someone organically. But I think as I am older, I am so busy. I don't really go out. Like I literally go to work, I go home with my dogs, and I watch TV. That's all I want to do. So it's hard for me personally to meet people outside of a dating app because I hate going out, honestly. Right. I love my bed. But I think it's been a really positive outcome. Like,
but you do, like, don't you work in your parish and stuff like that, don't you?
I do sometimes. My home parish they opened up a Vietnamese community. So I am 100% Vietnamese. So I've been going to a Vietnamese mass more often, and I love it. So it's kind of harder for me to meet Vietnamese people, just because like I am fluent in Vietnamese, but I'm not like 100% fluent. Like I can, when I hear them, I can like understand. It'll take me like a minute to process things and reply back. So it's a little bit harder to meet Vietnamese men. Also, Vietnamese men kind of give me the ick, unfortunately. Okay. So there's also that too. Right. But
we can delete that if you get engaged to one.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. If we're getting engaged, let's delete the ick part. But I think it's been a positive outcome. Like my cousin who is getting married next month met his fiance on Hinge. Cool. My best friend met her husband on Hinge. My other good friend met her fiance on Hinge. So I think that it works if two people really want to put the effort to make it work.
We talked about this a long time ago, I think, on that dating app episode. But is there a hierarchy sort of to the dating apps?
I think it's personal preference. I also think it's based on what you're looking for. So if people are looking for like that casual, low-key hookup culture that they want.
Gross, yeah.
Yes, it's going to be like Tinder will be like their top hierarchy. But for people who want like a serious relationship and for a good long-term relationship, I think that for me personally, Hinge will be my number one. Bumble is another dating app, will be my number two. I'm not even talking about Tinder on the hierarchy list. It's going to be Hinge and Bumble.
why is it? What is it that makes the Hinges and the Bumbles of the world better than whatever the other ones are?
So I think for Hinge, it's because you can go ahead and put down your deal breakers of what you're wanting to find a partner. And Hinge is going to go ahead and filter out those people that don't have that as as their deal breaker or don't have that as an option. So if I want someone who's Catholic, Hinge isn't going to give me someone who's not Catholic. I like Bumble because I'm a very bold person, and Bumble's where like the women make their first move.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
I like that sometimes, but I've been into Hinge since I've been single,
Right.
which is fun.
Cool. Yeah, I'm curious. Once again, I'm totally ignorant of
Yeah.
all of these. So, as a man, right? My perspective, and this is a super cynical, jaded perspective, but here we go, is that I feel like 90% of everybody kind of sucks. And I feel like I'm talking about sort of people who are young people trying to get married, trying to form relationships. At least from my perspective, I tend to blame my own people. I tend to blame the guys, right? And saying that the sort of the standard has sunk so low in regards to, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Just sort of
It's so hard
quality.
because it's hard because I actually had a conversation with my cousin about this like the other day. And it's so sad to believe that like women's standard now when it comes to dating is just if a guy tells me like, for example, the guy I'm talking to now is like, hey, I have a really busy day at work. I will call you after work. It's like that little communication that like women deserve in general. That's like the bare minimum is that we're not getting that. So when I got like the guy I'm talking to was like, I'll call you after work. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. I'm like, that shouldn't be something that's so sweet.
The bar is so low. It's so easy to, yeah.
Exactly. So, me and him were talking about this, like, I think last night. And it was more of like, I said, I want the kind of love that like, it's like the honeymoon stage is 24/7. Like it never goes away. I always want to be pursued. I want us to pursue each other all the time. Like that should be kind of standard that women see and want all the time. It shouldn't be set so low. And we both agree that like that's a standard regardless of where you're at in a relationship. Like if you're married for like 25, 100 years or whatever,
Right.
you should always be pursuing each other, not just when you're first talking or dating each other.
Now, I will say, and I don't think you're saying this, I just want to say this out loud for the radio. Obviously, talking about the honeymoon stage, we're talking about that solely as a feeling, right? Just so everybody's on board. That will come and go. I've been married for, I don't know, almost 13 years. I love my wife unconditionally. I would die for my wife in a heartbeat. Don't always like her. We don't get along sometimes. We fight sometimes, right? I don't always feel like I did when I was 20 years old and pulled a ring out of my back pocket and proposed to her, right? I don't always feel like I did in our first year of marriage before we had kids and all of these things. But in terms of that understanding, right? That understanding that love is a movement of the will and love is not a feeling. Once again, I know you weren't saying that. I want to clarify, right? There are certain standards by which, right, men owe women and women owe men, right? Our femininity and masculinity are complementary to one another. And that's really...
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad because I feel like when
It's great news for the guys.
It is. I feel like when I was younger, like I had this great relationship and it was great until it wasn't great. And it was because like that need to pursue one another, it fizzled out and it shouldn't be fizzled out. I think that if you're going to be with someone, you should always want to pursue them. Like a relationship it's never 50-50. Sometimes it is going to be 50-50. Sometimes it'll be like 60-40, 70-30 and stuff like that. Right. It depends on what your partner needs. And I feel like people don't understand that, and it's sad.
Some of the best advice I got from a guy who was, I don't know, marriage mentor is the right word, but you know, especially when you're a newly married couple, you usually become friends with a lot of people, the people who've been married longer, right? You're like, okay, I want what you have. How do I do that? Those kind of conversations. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I got was don't keep score, right? That thing that we do. That's why you were saying sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 50-50, whatever. And not keeping, that is so difficult to do, right? Because that's something that we'll struggle with at my house sometimes, where I come home from work and I think, well, I've been at work all day and I worked really hard today and I had a big meeting today. And then I got home and man, I even did the dishes, right? I've done all this stuff. I'm owed X, Y, and Z. And I think that comes from a misunderstanding of marriage, right? Where it's not so much about what I am owed, right? Marriage and being sacramentally bound to somebody involves definitionally a death to yourself, right? For the sake of the other. That's what it's all about. especially as the man, right? We wear a black suit on our wedding to symbolize death, right?
Yep.
The white dress symbolizes purity. The black suit symbolizes death, right? Death to yourself for the sake of the other. And I think that is so important. I do think it's good to hear for some of the guys out there that the bar is so low.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not positive for like civilization, but it's probably good for some individuals out there.
Yeah.
One thing that I say to guys a lot, which I don't know, might not be true, but I feel like it is. I'm harder on us. There are so many more awesome Catholic girls trying to live out their faith than there are Catholic guys, right? And it seems to me that right now, gentlemen, if you are interested in getting married, once again, like Nene said, bar's really low. Be a good human being who takes your faith seriously, tries to be virtuous. Don't become hopelessly addicted to pornography. Well, don't be addicted to pornography at all. Try to be a good person who has at least some degree of chivalry, and you got a real good shot at girls way out of your league. So
chivalry is not dead. Women believe that it's dead, but I have seen firsthand chivalry is not dead. It needs to be like revived. That's all it is.
We got about 2 minutes left. Why do you say it's not dead?
I don't think it's dead because the guy that I'm talking to currently is pursuing me, and he is chivalrous in more ways than one, to where it's like the reassurance, the understanding, and chivalry is just more than opening the door for the girl or doing little things, holding a door, opening a door, whatever.
Does he follow the sidewalk rule though?
It is following the sidewalk rule.
Yeah,
we've already talked about this.
Did we talked about this on the show?
Yes, we did.
Did I tell you about the homeless guy who called me out?
Did.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I had a homeless guy tell me that I was walking on the wrong side of my wife in downtown Atlanta one time.
Ouch.
Yeah. No, I have. That was the last time that happened. I now always stay on the right side of my wife.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
It's not dead. It's like, I think very little things that you'd be surprised that women want.
Right.
Is going to be just being genuine and being genuine with your intentions and just being open and honest about where you're at is going to be, honestly, the basic chivalry 101.
Right.
In my opinion. But
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, all right. In the last 45 seconds or so before break, any last minute thoughts? Anything you want to say to the young? Let's say anything you want to say to the men out there.
Do better. I'm just kidding. No, I think it's just being genuine. I think it's going to be the best thing, is be genuine and be open with where you're at with everything.
That's awesome, Nene.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in. I know you got some Korean barbecue to eat here in a minute. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. Please tell your parents, tell your brother that we here at Honest to God on AM 1160 The Quest say hello.
I will.
Great advice on navigating dating and their apps. Hopefully you learned a little something, and definitely something you don't want to miss out. If you want to hear the full conversation, easy to find when you go to Podcast Central at EWTN.com/podcast, or even subscribe to Honest to God wherever you stream today. I'm Ace McKay. Going to take a quick break, but when Catholics Coast to Coast returns, we're going to take an adventure in imperfect living as we dive into our reading throughout the summer months. What kind of books are you looking for, and how do we gain knowledge, and how that is the most important part when we do read. So we're going to select creatively, coming up with Adventures in Imperfect Living on Catholics Coast to Coast.
If it's central to the faith, you can find it on EWTN Podcast Central, featuring the best of EWTN radio, as well as faith-filled podcasts from our friends and affiliates across the nation. All in one place, all free. The destination for great Catholic audio programming is EWTN Podcast Central. It's like podcast heaven. Visit EWTN.com/radio/podcast today.
Hey, greetings, folks. Welcome to another edition of Adventures in Imperfect Living. I'm Greg Willits from RosaryArmy.com.
And I'm Jennifer Willits, his wife.
Got some voicemail to share with you. Also, going to give you an update on our experience at the new Barnes & Noble. We talked about it the last show or the 2 shows ago, and I was surprised at the amount of feedback that we got. And you might be asking, why should you care about, if this is your first time listening, it's like these people are going to talk about going to a bookstore. Well, it was an experience. And Barnes & Noble's been changing things, and we were surprised at how they changed things. So we'll talk about that. Also, going to share with you a way for you to never forget anything ever again for the rest of your life?
Oh, wow. I can't wait to hear this. Because I'm always forgetting what I ate the day before.
Is that overselling to say at that level?
That's a bit high. That's a very high expectation now.
How about I give a almost 1 year review of some methods that I have been incorporating to help remember what's important, to be able to track things that I've read and heard, and to revisit those things on a regular basis so that the lessons that I've learned become a part of my core working knowledge, memory, and ways that I'm meditating on things.
Okay.
How about that? Is that a little bit better?
Well, does this apply to remembering people's names?
No, because I don't.
That's not important.
Because I don't write those down. I don't write down the names of people that come my way.
Fair enough.
But I will tell you one person's name that I will never forget, and that's our friend Steve in Texas. You might want to put on your headphones for this one. Steve sent us some voicemail. Steve, we've talked about him in the past. We've met him on a few occasions. Longtime listener, supporter of Rosary Army and various initiatives over the years. Just a super nice guy. And I did a clarion call for voicemail feedback. And here's how Steve responded.
Hey, Greg and Jennifer, this is Steve in Texas. I got two things for you. First thing, I'm not dead yet. Second thing is, wait a minute. What was the second thing? Oh, yeah. No, just remembered. I'm recording this as my voice because, you asked me to. Right. And I really did enjoy your visit with John Mark Grodi. You know, I had a very good time watching you. I watched for a change, but I also listened to you without the video. It was really a joy. I hope you enjoy the voicemail. Don't complain that you never got one from me.
There you go. I will never complain.
This is indeed a voicemail.
Yes.
I'm sending you a voicemail. There, I did it.
It's a little bit like how I write letters these days or email. Like I am sending this email to acknowledge that I'm sending you this email.
Yes, but I am glad that you're not dead yet.
Yes.
That you are still blessing us with your life and your wit,
The man,
your humor.
I'm not kidding you. The man's been hit like at least twice while riding a bicycle by a car. So the fact that he's still with us, thank God, Steve's still with us. Steve, good to hear from you. Thank you for that. Yeah, we've gotten some nice comments. We've had a huge influx of people who have discovered Rosary Army as a result of our recent appearance on EWTN, it's always nice to have that sort of the statistic bump, right? Our website statistics go up. We've had new people sign up as are following the podcast on YouTube. Yeah. We've seen, and by the way, this is a new thing. I sometimes say, make sure not sometimes, I've been saying it for 19 years since we started podcasting. Always say, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get or on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite shows. They now have changed Apple Podcasts. You don't subscribe to things anymore. Did you notice this?
No, because I haven't subscribed to anything in a long time. So what is it?
They've done what you do with all the social media stuff. You follow the show. Yeah. Now that because I started listening to you, we talked about Cal Newport's book Deep Work on the last episode. Cal Newport has a podcast called Deep Questions, and so I went and I was like, well, let me listen to the podcast, and if I like it, then I'll subscribe to it. And I liked it, and then I went to subscribe, and I'm like, what? Where is it? I'm like scrolling all over on my app, and I finally realized there's a button that says, plus sign and then follow. And I'm like, I don't want to get like emails or anything. What happened? Okay. All right. Well, I get all the new episodes. That's so they just swapped out that terminology. Okay. So now we have to say, hey, make sure you're following the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're getting, they can't do this to us old time podcasters. You're trying to break habits that are 20 years ingrained nearly. But go ahead and follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you to all of you who watched the videos, who leave comments over on YouTube. We read every single one of them, though I don't always respond. But make sure you're following, you're subscribing, or whatever it is that you're supposed to do, and the bells and the whistles and the subscribe forms and whatever it is. But thank you.
I'm a little uncomfortable with the word followers.
Yeah, me too.
Never sits right with me because I keep thinking, well, I know the one who matters, who had followers, is Jesus. He had followers, and disciples. And so that is the primary definition that my brain, just wants to go to. So I feel a little uncomfortable that anyone follows me. It's like, I'm not worthy to be followed. I'm a follower.
Well,
that's who I am.
If you follow us, we immediately start questioning your character.
However, you just asked them to follow you.
I know.
But we're all on the way to Christ, you see.
I'm a walking set of contradictions. I'm used to saying things and then doing the complete and total.
Please just listen to us whatever way you want to.
But
that's what we want.
Thank you for the nice comment about your parents on EWTN. They're great folks over there. We'd love to be on as many EWTN programs as we can because it helps the apostolate, quite honestly. I mean, it really
did. We got
a huge influx.
A lot of rosary requests, which has been super great. It's just exciting to just send them out because we know these are real people asking. That's not just a piece of paper in the mail, that it's a person that really wants to enrich their spiritual life and pray a rosary with us. And, well, not really with us, but they could if they listen to our audio and stuff.
If you didn't watch the show, the EWTN Journey Home episode, and you can find it, I posted it on Rosary Army's website. At one point in the episode, as we're talking about near the end, John Mark asked us about Rosary Army, and we were explaining how people can go to Rosary Army's website and enter in their email address and then print out a form and send us the form in the regular mail. And then we'll send a rosary. And then I made a comment. I said, or Jennifer will actually be the one to send out the rosary. And I just said that comment. Well, we have the mail delivered to a post office box, and so we have to go several times a week and collect the requests and bring them home, and then you process them from there. But I went to go pick up the mail, and I'm pulling it all out, and I'm just looking at the envelopes, and like one of the first envelopes on the top of the stack, it was addressed to Rosary Army, but above Rosary Army, it just said Jennifer, and there was a little heart next to it. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Someone and I'm not.
Did you think a dude? A man would be like making hearts? That's such a feminine giveaway.
I don't know.
Only girls do that.
I don't know, because I remember when we used to do that Catholic show that some creepy guys would say some creepy things about my wife online, and like one guy said, like, she's the bee's knees. And I'm like, well, who? Number one, who says that anymore? Number two, don't say that about my wife. But when I got that, I'm trying to be respectful, and I didn't answer it. I didn't open it. I waited until I got home so that you could see it.
And then you would not leave me until I opened it in your presence.
That was pretty much it. I just want to make sure it's like that. It's like,
and it was perfectly innocent.
So,
sweet lady.
It was a sweet lady.
I tickled her funny bone, apparently.
Yeah. So
I'm glad I made you smile.
Thank you for that. And now we're going to get a bunch of requests, and everyone's going to intentionally put a little heart and Jennifer on the envelope just to drive me nuts. Don't do that. We also got feedback from Cheryl. She sent in an email and said, since it's past May 1st, when the Barnes & Noble store opens, you probably know this already, you can share your Barnes & Noble card. So I guess we talked about that a little bit. You already had a card, and I mentioned that on the show. And yes, we have discovered that as well. We now have me and Jennifer and Lily all using the same number. She says, our Barnes & Noble is an hour away, so I shop there rarely. When I do, I always use my parents' card. I also use their book account, so all the books they buy electronically, I have access to, which is something that we do with Kindles. She says, I was really interested in this new Barnes & Noble concept and hope it's successful. Thanks for sharing. So we won't regurgitate all of what we said on a previous show of Barnes & Noble and how they're changing some of their business models and opening up stores that are different than the stores that you may be accustomed to. But we had the grand opening. We went up. And again, we knew it was at 10 o'clock. They're going to do a ribbon cutting. They had some local authors were going to be there for the ribbon cutting and book signing, and didn't know what to expect. And so, it's one of these things. I kind of hate being the one who cracks the whip to try to get out the door for things, right? And so as I'm getting older and as I'm kind of just being worn down, I stopped doing it. And I let it be known, a movie starts at this time, this is happening then. I say what the time is, and I say, here is my recommended time for when we should depart. Now, you've also gotten worn down because of my whip cracking over the years. And so I've noticed that I don't know if we're meeting in the middle or if we're both overcompensating, but you were like, well, you said we're leaving at 9:45, so we're leaving at 9:45. I was like, okay.
Like, we're ready. Let's go.
And so I said this, it opens up at 10. I think about these things way too much. I overanalyze and overanticipate.
He expects tens of thousands of people to be there,
No,
that we won't get parking within miles
no, wait a
of
minute,
the
wait a
place,
minute,
is what he's thinking.
Wait a minute. I don't expect it. I
know it.
No, I don't even know it. But we've gone to enough of these things where we see that it's a possibility, right? And what my attitude is it never hurts us to arrive early, have to wait, and then not have any concerns. And we're not inconvenienced in any way just by showing up 10 minutes early for something. So I was like, I kind of saw how this was playing out. And I'm like, I've said it opens up at 10, whatever. I don't know if there's going to be giveaways. I don't know if they're going to do anything special, but there could be a line. I'm anticipating a line. And I think both you and Lily were kind of surprised. A line for a bookstore. I'm like, yeah, there's idiots like me that will do this, right? We want to be there at the opening. And I assume I'm not the only idiot around. And I was really pleased when we showed up. I wasn't the only idiot around.
There was a ton of idiots.
There was a really long line that went down past two other stores. And I think a lot of people in line were equally as surprised at the number of idiots that show up this early. So we were a line full of idiots waiting to get in. And people were excited, and it was really neat. And the manager came out, and he yelled something, but we were so far away that we could barely understand what he was saying. But what's interesting is we immediately start talking to this guy in front of us. I think he was probably, if I had to guess, like 15 years younger than us. But he was very excited by the bookstore too. He and I were kind of on the same wavelength. We were very excited that there was not only a new bookstore opening up, but it was so close to our homes. And that it was just, we knew it was a different concept. We were excited.
So Greg was talking to a stranger. Happily.
Yeah.
Just want you to know that it is possible.
Well, because I knew I'd never see him again. Let's be honest.
Safe.
I mean, I have thought about him again. I mean, because I went to
he was a nice guy.
I went to the bookstore a couple days later. I was like, if I see that guy again, I need to say something, because we kept running into each other in the store. But anyway, my point in bringing him up is, you know how if you go out to eat and or you and I will do this, right? We'll go to a coffee place and we'll get a coffee and we want to try this new coffee. They got this new, I don't know, kombucha coffee. I don't know if we want, hold on, just bear with me.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to commit to this kombucha coffee, right? Or you just made a protein shake. Let's do that.
Okay.
You made a protein shake. This is the first time you've ever made this protein shake. It's not the first time. Well, let's pretend it is. And if I had made this protein shake, let me have your glass. If I had made this, here's what I oftentimes do. I'll do a new recipe, made the protein shake. I'm like, and before I take my sip, I'm like, you want to try it? And I will offer it.
This is so true. Whenever he makes anything new, you eat it first.
And it's not.
You do it.
Listen, it's not that I'm treating you like the king's,
No, I think
food
you're
tester.
afraid.
No, I'm saying that's not what's happening. But I do want to make sure that you like something first, and then if you like it, I'm like, okay, well then I think I'm probably gonna like it too. And so it's like a little bit of a relief if I
like it.
Okay. Because if I drink it and I'm like, oh yeah, it's really good. You might not. I don't know. It does something in my brain, right?
I like it, but you may not like it. Okay. So what does this have to do with books?
But the flip, because the flip side can happen is that if you go, ugh, and then I'm very hesitant now to take a sip of this thing. And I'm like, oh, see, I was hoping it was going to be good. It's not, oh, yeah, you're right. It's not good.
Is this part of the one flesh rule of married life?
No.
We are now one.
No.
Our taste buds are one.
Because now I'm going to bring it back to the guy in the line who I'm not one with. Who said something literally, we're waiting in line, and they open up the doors. There's probably like 30 people ahead of us, and we're all, making our way to the door, and the doors open up, and just as the guy and then me were walking through the door, he went, "It's like an airport bookstore."
Oh, I'm glad I didn't hear that.
And then that's all I thought while I was walking through. I'm like, it is like an airport bookstore. It's like all this lighter shade of wood.
Yes.
And the shelves are they're
very flat.
Yeah, they're not like library type bookshelves that a lot of Barnes & Nobles have right now. Now, having said that, I really do like the way that they lay it out. They don't, at least in this store, it's much smaller. They did not have a cafe inside. So they're not taking up that real estate. Every bit of real estate is pretty much devoted to books. Now, they did have
And media.
They had music,
media.
but not a ton. They had a lot of Legos, like these special collector's edition Lego sets that I'll probably never buy there because, well, I'll never buy those collector sets. But they were unique. They had some weird ones that were neat. But all of the sections, even though it's in a smaller location, because of the way that they laid out the bookshelves so that you feel like you're walking through a maze more. And so in that maze, you're constantly making discoveries.
Yes.
And then it's easy. They had chairs in different places, and it was easy to kind of put myself in a little bit of a nook in a corner and kind of look through the shelves and that kind of thing. Now, so it was a neat experience going into it, and I very much liked the cleanliness. I liked the way that they have not as many copies of each book, and so they have a lot more books facing outward, which was interesting. Now, the downside, I immediately saw that their classics section was very much lacking. They have a lot of classics mixed up with just regular general fiction, but even still, we've kind of gotten spoiled of going into bookstores, and there will be 2 or 3 or 4 different editions of classic books, depending upon the paper type and how much money you want to spend in that kind of thing. And so I felt like that was limited in the classics section area. And
on that note, I felt that it looked like somebody had to make a decision about how to handle those redecorated covers, these classic works. Like you've seen them if you've been into a bigger Barnes and Noble.
Well, they're
you
Barnes and Noble
noticed.
editions. That Barnes and Noble publishes those fancy cover books.
Right. Like all the Jane Austen books all have these very particular style of hard cover that's very decorative, very floral.
Yeah.
And they're kind of telling you, this is what you want. I felt like they were pushing that decor, that artistic style onto us as if that is the only way you're going to enjoy this particular classic work. But if you don't like it, you're like, oh, well, what if I don't want that?
Yeah.
I don't care about the cover. What I care about really is the color of paper you use to print your font, and is it a good size? Is it like going to absorb light in a favorable way to reading? Because
You don't like newsprint.
I don't like the gray paperback sort of style. It's just and actually that would be, I would think, relaxing for the eyes because that's a very low contrast sort of page. But I love whatever is kind of, I feel like it's just in the last 8 to 10 years, this kind of cream ivory paper with it has a good weight to it, and the font is just perfect. It's my favorite. I don't know what it is, but they know what it is, and you can only find it when you have a chance to crack the cover and explore, is this publisher using that or not? And so, you have to you just can't buy a lot of online books anymore because you're never going to see what's inside, the paper, the font, the size. So I wasn't so sure I liked their forcing that particular hard book cover style of classical novel onto us. I did miss the other editions to shop through. It's like, okay, this is the edition I want. So anyway, you were going to point out something else.
The thing with the you just said buying online is difficult. One of the things that they said is, again, because the manager has more authority of ordering based upon the things that are requested, we made sure we spoke with the manager, we introduced ourselves, we talked about some of the things that we really would like to see more of, mentioned the classics, but really mentioned, and it was great because the local book buyer was there. I almost stopped again, by the way, last night just to see if anything has changed in the week since they've opened up, because we had the opportunity to talk to the local regional book buyer as well as the manager. The religious book section was one of the smallest I've ever seen in a bookstore. And they didn't have a single Catholic Bible on the shelves. They had a lot of Bibles, but they were all Protestant Bibles. So they were the ones that had the 7 books removed by Martin Luther.
Right. And they have a lot of Joyce Meyer stuff.
Lots of Joyce Meyer.
I was like, wow.
A lot of Joel
She's
Osteen.
well represented here.
Which is, this Bible belt. So I'm not surprised by that. But the only Catholic-related books, there were a couple of biographies of Pope Francis. I saw St. Augustine's Confessions, but it was on the lower quality paper that you talked about, and a couple other St. Augustine books. And
a lot of C.S. Lewis.
A lot of C.S. Lewis.
Which was nice.
Which on the good paper, that whatever the Signet Classics are, I think that's the imprint that's been doing it in the recent years. They've done a really good job of reprinting the Lewis stuff on high quality paper, and it's just nice to read. So I was disappointed on the religious section. I was disappointed on the classics. But having said that, what I liked was the way that they've set up things for discoverability. So I walked through and I was looking at a lot of things. I ended up buying a writing book that I was back at the writing section, which was also very small. And again, because it's a smaller bookstore, they're not going to have every book known to man. But using their app, you can request books and that kind of thing. So I'm still getting used to it. But I really did enjoy the experience. I went back a couple days later and spent probably a good hour just in the fiction section, just like kind of went across the entire shelves, there were so many books and authors that I'm not even aware of their existence right now, but seeing how they're intermixing the classics that they do have with those, I'm really excited. I'm very glad that it's there.
And I was very surprised by the titles they ultimately went with to stock that store, because that's not an easy decision. And I remember the woman who was the book buyer, or one of the regional managers, she said, so for a store opening, either it's 70,000 pounds of books or 70,000 books. She said 70,000 something goes into an opening, and you have all this data that you have to analyze, like which one is likely to sell. What are the good sellers? And that's what you start with. But then you wonder about how quickly they'll replace. So you found something that you knew Tommy was going to go gaga for, but there was one copy left. And did you go back and see if they restocked it?
When I went back on Friday, they had not restocked it. And I explained that to you, that I actually worked in a bookstore back in 1989, fairly large store, and way back then their policy was within 48 hours a book would be restocked and back in again. And there was a small chain in Ohio, Little Professor. If you're from Ohio, that'll be familiar to you. And so I'm just, I don't know why I'm always curious about the inner workings of like how this business works. And I don't care about all businesses, but I am very interested. And so like last night, I almost went back again just to see. I bought, for example, I purchased Cal Newport's Slow Productivity book that I mentioned on the last show. They hadn't restocked that either. And so I'm just curious what the turnaround times are once a book is purchased, because they only had one copy of Slow Productivity. They had one copy of that other book. So it's interesting. I'm very glad it's there. And
it definitely, they put a lot of thought into the flow of the store. And so it was nice how fiction was sort of everywhere in multiple hiding places.
Yeah.
And so then you would have no choice but to walk by another section that you may not have thought to go to, but then it just looks so pleasing in its decor. Like, okay, I'll look at it and see what's here that might be of interest to me.
And that leads back to the discoverability, the way that they have it set up.
Yeah.
I think it's designed in a way so that you kind of feel like you could almost go every week and you might see something that you didn't see the week before. Now, we don't need to buy a book every week because we can't read that fast.
Right.
But so we got some books. We're excited that it's there, and we'll give you future Barnes and Noble updates.
So on the topic of books, what are you reading now?
I'm reading.
Are you reading anything fiction right now?
Well, funny enough, last night I just started reading another book on my Kindle that I got from the library, based upon because it became available. It had been recommended to me a couple weeks ago. And so I started reading that. I read the first few pages of Power and Glory, the Graham Greene book that you got me.
Okay.
And I feel like there's something else. I feel like you're setting me up for a question that.
No, I wasn't sure if you were reading something new that's fiction related, because I know you're always working on.
Yeah. So last night I started reading a book that Dave from Fiveable, the group that set us up with School of Mary. He had recommended a book to me, and so I almost got at the bookstore, and I think I've read this, and then when I talked to him again, I don't think I did. So I picked that up on Kindle and started reading that last night.
Well, what
about you?
Well, I'm getting ready to.
You got your mom's well-read moms.
The well-read mom. So I'm keeping up with the assigned books that are part of that book club. So that's been a very enjoyable experience. I'm very, very glad that I am in fact able to do it. That I could read a book well within the 30-day allotted time, and many times I can finish it inside of a week if I'm really loving it. But
you're a lot faster of a reader than I remember.
I think I've become faster. I definitely was a slow reader before I joined this group. So something about the pressure has just gave me a reason to try. And so because of this bookstore opening up and just how fun it was to go to that book opening with Lily, we thought, you know what? Let's have an eye toward our summer. Let's create our own summer reading list for fun.
Getting some good reading options as we help to navigate through some great conversations through the summer months. So hopefully that helps you just a little bit. And if you want to find out more with Adventures in Imperfect Living, easy to find at Podcast Central when you go to EWTN.com/podcast. And always know you can catch up on what you've missed, or make sure you subscribe where you like to stream so that way you don't miss future episodes. I'm Ace McKay, bowing out for the rest of the weekend, but enjoy yours. We'll do it again as we continue this conversation and deepening our closer walk with God, letting Him be the one who defines who we are. And I'll see you again with Catholics Coast to Coast.